जय जय श्री राधे शिवलबाधीश की जय। सभी वैष्णवन को जय श्री कृष्ण। शिवलबाधीश की जय हो। Varta 80. This is day 87 of the readings. Varta number 80. Story of Bhadrayan Das and his wife, Brahmins from Pushkar, who lived in Moravi. Bhav Prakash. These two are Sri Lalitaji's Sakhis in the eternal Leela. His Leela name is Shruti Rupa and hers Ganga. Part 1. Bhadrayan Das was born into a family of Pushkar Brahmins in Moravi. His parents used to call him Bado. When he was later initiated by Sri Acharyaji, then it was he who gave the boy the name of Bhadrayan Das. When he was just 13, he was married off to a girl from the same village. They lived in that same village. There was a Gujarati Brahmin called Vatsabad, who lived in Gujarat. He lived off reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam. That man was travelling from Moravi to Dwarka to have the holy sight of Sri Ranchorlalji. He came through this village of Moravi. Bhadrayan Das put him up in his home and also became his disciple. Bhadrayan Das also heard from him the recitation of the whole of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Then Vatshav left for Dwarka. After some days, Sri Acharyaji also passed through Moravi village. On his way to Dwarka, he camped in a garden outside the village. All the Vaishnavas from Moravi came there to have his holy sight. Bado was amongst them. At that time, Sri Acharyaji was discoursing on his commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Subodhiniji. He spoke about the chapter where the gopis address a black bee, Brahmar Geet, in such a way that Bado fainted. It took him a whole 2 hours to regain consciousness. Bado considered, I have heard the whole of the Srimad Bhagavatam from Vatshav Bhatt, but I never for a single second experienced such bliss. Bado approached Sri Acharyaji and bowing low to him requested to be accepted as a disciple. Sri Acharyaji replied, but you are already a disciple of Vatshav Bhatt, so why do you want to be initiated again? I will not re-initiate you. Bado took his leave and went home. He told his wife, I had the holy sight of Sri Vallabhacharyaji. He is the Lord himself. He recounted the chapter of the Brahmar Geet in such a way that I fainted from bliss. Afterwards I asked him to accept me as his disciple, but he refused, saying that I was already the disciple of Vatshav Bhatt. Now what should I do? If I can be Sri Acharyaji's disciple, then I can be totally fulfilled in this very lifetime. His wife said, you really do not know how to properly make a request. Take me there with you to meet him and I shall make the plea. Bado and his wife came to Sri Acharyaji. His wife bowed to him and said, Oh Maharaj, my husband Bado requested you to accept him as your disciple. You refused, but you are on this earth for the purpose of uplifting such fallen and lowly souls as we, who are fallen into this ocean of worldliness. Please accept us into your shelter. Sri Acharyaji explained that he had refused her husband's request because he was already a disciple of Vatshav Bhatt. Why does he want to be reinitiated? Bado's wife continued, Oh Maharaj, he may be Vatshav Bhatt's disciple, but this has not fulfilled his life in any way. That Brahmin goes all over the place reading the Srimad Bhagavatam for money. How can he possibly uplift us? Please therefore accept us and thereby save us. Sri Acharyaji said, It is already the evening. I will initiate you tomorrow. Go home now. Both the husband and wife bowed to Sri Acharyaji and went home. In the morning they returned and again requested Sri Acharyaji to come to their home and cook there. Sri Acharyaji went to Bado's home, and after he and his wife had bathed, he initiated them both with the Lord's name and Brahmasambandha. After that he cooked and offered the preparations and then partook of the Mahaprasad. He renamed Bado Bhadrayan Das and gave him some prasadi garments of Sri Navanit Priyaji to serve. He stayed here for 2 days and then left for Dwarka. The couple accompanied him to Dwarka. Sri Acharyaji stayed in Dwarka for 1 year and 1 month, and during all of that time the couple served him. They fetched water, served in the kitchen and washed his clothes. Then Sri Acharyaji told Bhadrayan Das to go home with his wife and to serve the Lord there. Then Sri Acharyaji continued on with his pilgrimage. Bhadrayan Das and his wife went home to Moravi and lovingly served Sri Navanit Priyaji's garments. Then Sri Navanit Priyaji began to communicate with them directly. Bhadrayan Das and his wife were both recipients of the Sri Acharyaji's great grace and were accomplished Vaishnavas. Thus concludes Varta 80, Bhadrayan Das and his wife Brahmins from Pushkar who lived in Moravi, although really speaking there is no end to their story. Continuing on to Varta 81, the story of Surdas, a Saraswat Brahmin from a village near Delhi called Simhi, Bhav Prakash. And 81, 82, 83 and 84, these are the stories of Surdas, Paramananda Das, Kumban Das and Krishna Das, who are the four Ashtachap disciples of Sri Vallabhacharya Ji. In the eternal Leela, Surdas is one of Sri Krishna's 8 closest companions called Krishna Sakha. Here a doubt may arise that Surdas knew all about Sri Thakurji's intimate Leelas in the forest bowers, but how could he have experienced these when there are no Sakhas present in those Leelas? The answer is that it is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when Sri Thakurji goes out to graze the cows with the cowherd boys accompanying him, then all the gopis experience those Leelas. They are at home, but they sing about the Leelas of Sri Krishna in the forest. After he has returned home in the evening, he also enjoys pastimes with the gopis in the night. At that time, it is the Sakhas who are in separation and singing of those Leelas. In the Nikunj, or forest bowers, reside the Lord's Sakhis. They have 2 forms, the male Sakhas and the female Sakhis. In the day they enjoy as Sakhas and in the night as Sakhis. How is this? The verses of the Vedas become gopis and the Vedic mantras become gopas, or cowherds. These gopis look like females and the Sakhas look like their husbands. However, in the same way that roasted grain will never sprout even though planted, so these gopis have no worldly feelings at all. They are always engaged in the eternal mood of divine loving pastimes. The closest friends, the cowherds, are really parts of Sri Thakurji's own body. Thus, day and night, Sri Thakurji is joyfully creating and participating in the loving mood of divine play. Therefore, Surdas is also the Sakha named Champakalata. Therefore, Surdas will experience all of Sri Thakurji's Leela by the great grace of Sri Acharya Ji. Another question arises. If he is so closely linked to the Leelas of the Lord, then why did he not have these experiences from the time that he was born? And why did he have an entirely different attitude earlier on in life? Sri Thakurji appears on earth and plays just like a human child in order to spread the knowledge of his glories. When embodied souls who inhabit the earth sing of his glories, they are uplifted and their lives are fulfilled. The Lord's devotees also display worldly activity while they are here, but transform these activities into divine activities through their link to the divine. In this same way, Sri Rukminiji is really Sri Lakshmi incarnate, but when she appeared here on earth, she worshipped that very goddess in order to procure a husband, and then she sent a Brahmin with her letter to Sri Thakurji asking him to marry her. This was in order to reveal this pastime to the world and teach the world the lessons therein. In this very way, Sri Kalindiji was procreated by the sun god, but used to go to Sri Yamunaji's temple and perform austerities there, telling Arjun that she would get Sri Thakurji as her mate. Then Sri Thakurji married her. But this is all just for the sake of his divine play, because in reality she has always been and is his beloved. In Vraja, Sri Swaminiji and Sri Thakurji, who are in essence one single form, appear as both Sri Thakurji in Sri Nandaraji's home and Sri Swaminiji in Sri Vrishabhanu's home. They were forever making new games in order that they could meet day and night. These pastimes are just a show for the world to see and follow. In reality, they are one divine eternal Leela, and immersed in this mood, in the same kind of way, Surdas became Sri Acharya Ji's disciple and then began to sing of these pastimes. Through this process, the fame of the master spread. It was thought, Surdas is a magnificent Vaishnava, so we should go to his guru for acceptance into the path. Thus, such pastimes bring the jivas to pay attention to Sri Acharya Ji. Witnessing those pastimes, even worldly souls attain the Lord through singing his fame. When Surdas appeared in this world, he knew nothing of these Leelas. He was born in a small village near Delhi named Simhi, where King Parikshit's son Janmanjay had performed the snake sacrifice. Where King Parikshit's son Janmejai had performed the snake sacrifice. He was born to one Saraswat Brahmin. He had no eyes. He had eyebrows, but no sign of eyes, not even a socket for them. His father already had 3 sons and was poor. The fourth son was this blind boy. When he saw that the boy had no eyes, the Brahmin was thrown into anxiety and was very sad. He thought, "The Creator has made me penniless, and now I have a son without eyes. What can he ever do? How can he ever do any work? Who will steady his walking stick?" In this way, the Brahmin was grieving. If he was blinded after birth, he would just be called blind, not eyeless, which is exactly what he is. His father, mother, and everyone else in his home has zero affection towards him. What use is a son without eyes, they thought. Neither would anyone speak to him. When Surdas was 6 years old, a wealthy Kshatriya client of the father gave him 2 gold coins. He took the coins home and very happily told everyone there about the coins and that the next day he would go and buy lots of supplies. He showed those 2 coins to everyone. That night he tied them up in a cloth and slept with them close to him. 2 mice came and took the coins to their hole in the roof. The next morning it was discovered that the coins were missing. Surdas's parents began to beat their chests and cry. They were distraught. Nobody ate that day. Then they got more and more upset. Hearing this, Surdas asked them what all the fuss was about. "Sing the praises of the Lord and everything will turn out fine," he said. His parents said to him that his birth was so inauspicious that he was born as an eyeless boy and that he had been stressed ever since he was born. "Since you were born, we have not even had one happy day and never had enough to eat. Your Lord gave us 2 coins, but now even they have disappeared." Surdas replied, "If you let me leave home, then I will tell you where your coins are, but you must let me leave and not follow me." The parents agreed. "Go wherever you want," they said. "We will not stop you." He told them there was a hole in the roof and that the coins were on the rim of that hole. The Brahmins searched for them and found them. Surdas got ready to leave home. The parents began to feel some affection for him. "He must be lucky. He showed us straight away where the coins were." Thinking like this, the parents asked him, "Why do you have to leave like this? You found the coins. Please stay with us until the food we buy with them runs out. After that you can go wherever you like." Surdas said, "Please let me go now. If you keep me here, the coins will disappear again and you will be sad." Hearing this, the parents were speechless and Surdas left home with just a walking stick. He walked for 8 miles and came to a village outside which there was a lake. Surdas sat down under a fig tree and drank some water from the lake. As the evening came, some Brahmin landowners recognized Surdas and came there to tell him that they had been searching for some of their lost cows for a number of days, but they had not found them. They said they were willing to give 2 cows to anyone who could reveal the cows' whereabouts. Surdas said he had no interest in their rewards, but that he would tell them anyway that the lost animals had been stolen by a landowner from the next village who had sent his men in at night, and that he had 10 of their cows. Inside that landowner's house there is another building where he keeps horses and the cows are tied up in there, he told them. The landowner whose cows had been stolen then took 10 men with him and found his cows exactly as Surdas had described. He brought them home and went to thank Surdas and offered him the 2 cows. So we are going to conclude today's reading here and continue tomorrow with this story of Surdas. Jai Shri Radhe. सभी वैष्णवों को हार्दिक सप्रेम और सादर जय श्री कृष्ण। श्री वल्लभाधीश की जय। आज के आनंद की जय। जय जय श्री राधे।